So Murray, what do you think is going to happen? Spring sitting, pretty exciting stuff.
Well, it will be. I think it'll be a little bit more exciting than normal because we are getting into that election area. Mm-hmm. I am interested how things are already getting framed. We see the NDP ads asking where the money went, and we see Brad Wall offering a pretty good explanation.
When you look at the track record of all of the choices, when you look at smart meters wasting money, when you look at the use of consultants spiking in a huge way, 228%, over $100 million being used on consultants, 70% of the time no documentation. When we look at the bizarre pet projects like a Premier's Library, when we look at trips to Ghana that are not necessary, when we look at limousine use by ministers, I think this is a pattern of a government making bad choices, especially in the context of being given record revenues that we've seen.
This is the most challenging budget that we've ever put together as a government. We've had challenging fiscal times before in 2009 when basically potash revenue fell to about zero and when oil touched $33 a barrel for a time. Through that year, the economy continued to grow. We added jobs and we added population, and so it was an first indication, I think, for Saskatchewan people that the provincial budget and the economy sometimes are delinked. Sometimes they're two different things.
So, aside from obviously what's going to happen with government, what are you thinking with the NDP? What do you reckon the opposition's really going to concentrate on?
Well, I've been very critical of them asking a simplistic question that
you have.
You have. The Wall could hit out of the ballpark, and he has, and they did. But there is a lot of little questions to ask, and you get enough being peppered at you. It's problematic for a government, and certainly we saw it last week with the questions related to Creative Saskatchewan and why on God's green earth we need to go to or send anybody to Hollywood the week before the Oscars when there's a traveling freeze. Once you get into this mode that the government has to be in of austerity, of having to account more for every dollar that they're spending, there's going to be a lot more stories of, is this effective? Are you really saving money by the hiring freeze? Are you really spending money properly on travel? Was this necessary? There's that much more level of scrutiny when the budgets are tight. And I think the public expects that too. So there's going to be a lot of fodder for the opposition. And
well, with the budget, who knows what's going to be in that, I suppose.
I think it'll be death by 1,000 little cuts, and that'll be very interesting in itself. I think that...
Do you think they'll have any more families coming in like they did last session? We saw a lot of families, a lot of seniors, care issues. Get a feeling that that's going to happen again? Absolutely, because that's the most saleable. Now, there will be issues related to the opposition saying, okay, but how do we fund it better? What do you have in mind? How many more healthcare, senior care workers do you think we need? There will be those questions fired back. But once again, this is an issue that the government's now grappled with for 2 years. Yep. And if you can't come up with something better towards a solution, then there's reason to keep asking the questions. And I think that there'll be plenty of fodder for the opposition, and it should set the way for an interesting time in the lead up to the campaign. Absolutely. It's going to be fun. You can follow all the fun at leaderpost.com.